So I think the first way to energize and to bring real meaning to congregational singing is, first of all, to have the concept of what is important. And that is, congregational singing is the most important form of church music. That is not to say that the prophetic and the priestly functions are not legitimate, but to say that the most important is singing with the people, leading the people to do their own prayer and praise before God.
The answer to the question whether hymnody is important, for me, is yes, it's extremely important, because it's the voice of the people, partially because it's the voice of the people, and because it somehow expresses the intrinsic nature of worship. That is to say, worship is at its heart not spoken, though we in the 20th century, by a whole series of historical, or for a whole series of historical reasons, have gotten ourselves into a situation where we think music is fundamentally spoken. But worship is fundamentally musical, and hymnody is part of the intrinsic musical expression of what happens in worship. One could say a lot more about that, I suppose, but that at least opens up the issues.
Well, one of the ways I think that hymns can be incorporated into worship, particularly from the point of view of clergy, is to think of the sermon as not being over until the last hymn is sung. Because particularly if the preacher will plant a question or raise an issue that the people in the congregation can work with until they have come to the end of the service, then somehow that makes it a richer experience, both in the preaching and in the singing, and it helps to model that there is a unity in the worship that should carry over into people's lives. And I think it also makes the singing more engaged if people have been prepared by the sermon or by other parts of the service to look for that. For example, sometimes if the hymn can repeat a scripture that has been read, often, for example, if there's a psalm that can then be sung in a paraphrase, for example, if you do the 90th psalm and then sing, "O God, our help in ages past," that correlation really makes a difference in the way people sing. And if there is an aha going on, people sing with more liveliness and more engagement. And they begin to see other hymns in a new way if they've had that experience.
I think good hymn singing is good for the people. In other words, it's where the people are able to give themselves to the experience. And then they hear themselves singing, and they realize the strength of their gathered community. Good hymn singing also gives the people an opportunity to rehearse and remember their history, because their hymns reflect their history. And I think good hymn singing gives the people an opportunity to experience the vitality of new life, the new things that are being written, and evidence of the Spirit's presence.